People on the spectrum understand everything, though they may not voice it. You may have a student in your class who is not able to speak. They're non-verbal. But that does not mean that they don't understand. People on the spectrum understand everything. They take in everything. So it's always wise to presume intellect, even if you feel they're not hearing, they're not aware, they're in their own world. But please, let's presume intellect always. I had a meeting with a mother once, and she had noticed a sudden change in her child. So I asked her, like, where, since when has this change happened? So this girl had become aggressive and she was attacking the mother, and mother was experiencing several difficulties at home. So she said, this happened 2 weeks ago. So I said, did anything happen 2 weeks ago? Is there something that stands out in your memory? And she said, yes, I had a school meeting. I had a meeting with the teacher. So I said, okay, what happened? So she said, the teacher said that she's not progressing, the child is not progressing, and they may have to take a call whether they're going to continue with her in the school or not. And I was like, uh, was your child in the room when the teacher said this? And she said, yes. So this child had taken everything in. She understood. And he says here, William Donovan made clear that he was very aware of his environment, even when people assumed he was oblivious. As an autistic child, I felt very uncomfortable. I tore up newspapers, pulled bedspreads off the beds, pulled books out of the bookcases, bounced cans, and played with spinning tops and broke every one of them. I would like to take the opportunity to tell you that I destroyed things because I couldn't talk. I spun things because I couldn't talk. It also made me feel good, of course. I hated going to school because classrooms were too confining. I didn't like the idea of the other kids making fun of me, and I didn't want anyone to pass judgment on me as to how good or bad I was. He described his teachers hitting him with rulers, locking him in a closet, and talking about him as if he weren't there. Someone in the audience asked if he had spoken only in echolalia until he was 10 because he couldn't or he wouldn't talk normally. Donovan replied firmly, couldn't. So he could not talk till he was 10 years old, but clearly he took everything in. And this, I have to share with you that this is, an account that many people on the autism spectrum who are now adults, they share this with us. And they say clearly, I understood everything. So I think as teachers, we've got to be very careful. Let's not talk about them in front of them. Even as parents, sometimes parents talk as if the child is not present in the room. Parents talk about the child in third person, right? So this is something that we've got to be very careful about. Behavior is communication, right? So we already saw in the previous quote that what we sometimes see as a failure to behave properly is actually a failure to communicate properly. So we must teach them how to communicate, right? And nowadays, even if a person is non-verbal, there are many tools available to us. We have augmentative communication, we have the PEC system, there's several things, typing and letter boards, which help us communicate with them. And then give breaks for self-regulation. So in the classroom, you might see that uh, a child is beginning to become dysregulated, is running around. Is it possible to have a quiet corner? Is it possible to send the child out to walk with the shadow teacher or something so that he or she can regulate himself and then come back to the classroom? Use experience sharing language instead of instructions. So, we don't want to bombard them with instructions. Just imagine ourselves in this situation. If someone's constantly telling us, now do this, do that, put this here, put this there, it would irritate us, right? So I normally ask teachers and parents to slow down. Instead of saying don't do this, you might say, you might want to try this, it's so nice to touch. Okay, or instead of saying what's your favorite color, say my favorite color is blue, and just wait. What does the child say? This is known as declarative communication. Okay, experience sharing language. Don't compare with other children. So, as you know, as a teacher, you know that each child is different, right? So, we want to spotlight the positives of every child, and not that, you're different, or compare, oh, your brother is like this, or your sister is like this. Sometimes parents might say this, or a teacher might say, oh, this guy cannot do anything. So, let's not compare them, right? Because each child is capable of succeeding. I love this slide too because it's about multiple intelligences. So every child learns differently. Some have musical talent, some are tactile, they're kinesthetic, some are good with interacting with others, some are good with words. I have a student who was reading much before he was talking. He was hyperlexic. So whenever we want to teach him, we go via words and he just gets it so quickly. Some have mathematical talent, some are nature smart, some are visual. A lot of people on the autism spectrum are visual. So it's, once we figure out how they learn, then that's the technique, that's the strategy we use. And then you have children who are very musically inclined. So my own son Mohit, he's of course he's an artist now. He paints these beautiful paintings, but he's also very musically inclined. Like he knows thousands of songs, literally thousands, and I have no idea how he picks them up or he remembers the words. So once you figure out how a child learns, then use that strategy to help him. Observe carefully. Okay, how will you figure out how a child learns? Right, we've got to observe very carefully. Observe what their strengths are. When you have a student in your class who draws or colors beautifully, keep that in mind. Okay, there are some of them who are good at spelling and at words. Those are the things. What are their strengths? It's nice to note these things down. And also, what are their weaknesses? Does this child get triggered when there's another child near him? Does this child get affected by loud sounds? Or if a child screams suddenly, does this bother him? So we've definitely got to keep an eye on this. We use a lot of data sheets at SciConnections, especially if I want to figure why a child is behaving the way he is. Then we have a pattern analysis. I ask parents to take data, or we have an ABC data sheet, which stands for antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Teamwork is essential. So it's all about the parent and the teacher as the primary team. Also, you have some therapists who are very involved with the child. So you might have a speech language pathologist who's involved with the child. You may have a special educator who can support you. So if we work together as a team, that's when we achieve the most. If there is some other co-occurring condition going on, say for example, many people with autism also have seizures, please do talk to a neurologist. Talk to a developmental pediatrician. These are the people who will support you and look after the other needs of the child. If you have a child in your classroom and you see these kind of spells where the child just goes off, immediately ask them to contact a neurologist. Okay, it may be a seizure. This is what happened to my son, that he was initially getting absent seizures, and I had no idea. But then his teacher told me that sometimes he just becomes absolutely blank, and that was a cue for me to go and seek an appointment with a neurologist to figure out. And then we realized that it is a seizure. Okay, so teamwork is essential. Work with the specialists, work with the parents, and I'm sure things will then start going well. And I just want to share with you from Dr. Temple Grandin, a very well known autistic individual. She's a PhD and a doctor, and she is in the field of, she designs equipment for calming down animals. And so she says, I am different, but not less. I think if there were one message that I would like to share with you from autistic individuals, it would be this, that we're different, but we are not less. And the more inclusive we as teachers, as educational institutions, as doctors, as therapists, the more inclusive we become. And the more we recognize these beautiful individuals for what they are, then that would be mission accomplished. Um, and so I want to come back to you, right? As a teacher, why do you do what you do, right? And this is a beautiful quote. Our job is to teach the students we have, not the ones we would like to have, not the ones we used to have, those we have right now, all of them, right? So in your classroom, you will have students who are different. You will have students who act up. You will have students who don't learn like others. But our job as teachers is to facilitate teaching for all of them. And your role as a teacher, is so hugely important because you teach, you are a resource provider, you protect your students, you're a role model, you assess students, you coach them, you teach them, you're an information provider, and you're a planner as well, right? So this is the importance of your role, and it's a very, very important role you have because, like I said before, besides the parent, you are the person who spends maximum amount of time with the child, with the student. And the choice is always yours. Which way will you choose? We can choose to be the teachers that were there in olden times, who expected students to fit in to a certain box, or we can be teachers who look at our students and say, what is the best that I can do for this child? How can I support this individual who's obviously struggling?